Hey Warriors, a couple of weeks ago I spent 3 hours with Dr Jules Strauss, sports nutritionist, discussing the topic of fasting. And what I learned completely changed my perspective on the whole topic, and it might change yours too. I'm Simon Ward, and if you're an endurance athlete who's curious about fasting, then this 10-minute breakdown could save you months of mistakes. In our conversation, Jules and I covered the real science behind fasting, which of those methods actually work, and crucially, and what I'm going to share with you at the end, is whether you should even consider it as an athlete. So let's dive in. So the first thing that's going to blow your mind is this: you're already an expert at fasting. You don't believe me? Well, think about it. Every night, turn the lights out and you go to sleep 7, 8, 10, 12 hours without any food at all. And your body handles it fine because our ancestors did it. And through the process of evolution for millions of years, we've learned to do it too. You need to think of your body like a hybrid car. You've got your main fuel tank, glucose, made up of the food you eat. And then you've got a backup system, fat stores and ketones. Our ancestors were able to switch between both really easy, called metabolic flexibility. Problem is that in the modern society, we've lost that skill. So what happens to you if you decide to extend that overnight fast purposefully? Well, in the first 12 hours, you're in normal territory. Your insulin drops, your fat burning begins. There's nothing dramatic happening here. Between 12 and 24 hours, well, this is where it starts to get a bit more interesting. The sugar stores in your liver are depleted. Your body's making fuel from other sources. You might actually feel a bit sharper, or you might feel tired, or you might feel both. That's normal, okay? Now, once you get past 24 hours, then you go into survival mode. Think about that word carefully. The brain starts using ketones, and here's what Dr. Strauss said. We're really in an adaptive state for survival. And that's not something we'd recommend for athletes. Remember, athletes want to thrive, not survive. So if you ever try fasting, you might want to ask yourself, why does hunger disappear sometimes during fasting? Sometimes I feel ravenously hungry, sometimes I don't. Well, it's not just about what's in your stomach. It's about the hormones and your body clock and those learned patterns. You know, like, oh, it's midday, I must have something to eat. So what Jules taught me was this. If you are feeling really hungry, rate it from 1 to 10. If you're above 5 and you're wanting to eat, well, it might be out of habit, not hunger. Now, the next thing to understand is that not all fasts are the same. So let me show you and tell you about a spectrum from sensible to, well, not so sensible or maybe even stupid. Time-restricted eating, 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours eating, or 14 and 10, pretty manageable for most people. If you eat earlier in the day, that's slightly better for your blood sugar, but you've got to align it with what your daily schedule's like. The next up's intermittent fasting. 5 days of normal eating, 2 days with very low calories. This is difficult for athletes. If you're training, then those really low calories, like 800 grams, have got to be very well managed. And then we have the Instagram specials, right? The warrior diet, the lean gains. They've got complex rules. And Jules was very, very clear. When you layer on those additional rules and restrictions, then you could be promoting disordered eating behaviours, and that's not good. So, some red flags you might want to look out for. Something with a fancy name, something with complex rules, and something with promises of quick fixes. So if it sounds too good to be true, you know what they say. The crucial point about this is that fasting's not for everyone. So you might want to avoid it if you have eating disordered history, you're under 18, you're pregnant, already highly stressed because fasting is a stress, or you've got recurrent injuries. And here's the truth bomb. Fasting does not give superior results compared to regular calorie restriction. It's just another tool. So please think about that. Fasting versus energy deficit shouldn't give different results if you stick to it. So there's naturally no need to try fasting. And that brings me to the next question, which I said I'd share with you at the end. Should athletes actually fast? Well, Jules was pretty clear on this. It's not NOT, not a performance enhancer. It's not an approach athletes should pursue if they're looking for improved performance. As Jules said, you're always balancing these three things: health, performance, and body composition. If you focus too heavily on one of them, like body composition, you could compromise performance and health. So, fasting might help body composition, but be careful of what else it might harm if you're going to go down that path. So there may be some times when you could consider fasting, if that's the way you want to go, during the off season, during periods of light training, or at times when you can actually afford to make a mistake. But here are the places when you should avoid it. When you're building your training blocks and increasing the volume, when you're preparing for a competition, or when you're actually in the race season. And as Jules said, absolutely avoid fasting during peak race weeks. If you do try fasting, then make sure you keep a track on certain markers. Quality of training, are you maintaining it? What are your sleep and mood like? Are they stable? Are you getting sick more often? And if you're a female, what are your menstrual cycles like? Are they still regular? Your body's pretty smart, so if something's going wrong, it'll tell you. But the key, as always, is to make sure you listen to it. So here's the final warning. Fasting looks simple, but it does add complexity. And if you're an athlete like me, well, actually, you need less complexity. You need simplicity, not more complexity. And sometimes the boring, consistent approach beats all of those fancy protocols. So here are 3 takeaway facts, if you excuse the pun. Firstly, fasting's not magic, it's just another tool. Secondly, if you get your basics right first, training, sleep, the nutrition fundamentals, then you'll probably be on the right path anyway. And thirdly, if you do experiment with it, do it safely with a professional like Jules who can give you proper guidance. So Jules summed it up perfectly in our conversation. Getting the basics right might be boring, but they're ultimately the things that move us forward. Please don't chase shiny objects when the fundamentals are not already dialed in. Now, if this helped you understand fasting a bit more, that's great. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button. We've got 3 hours of great podcast conversation with Jules, and if you want to listen to those, you'll find the links in the description of the video below, and I can guarantee it's worth every minute. We talk about a lot more stuff than I've had time for here. And if you've tried fasting, warrior fast, lean gains fast, or just 5 and 2, please let me know. Put a comment below and I'd love to read them, and I'll answer them all. Thank you very much for being here.